In a small Asian village nestled deep within a vast untamed forest, life was ruled by rhythms of nature and the whispers of old legends. This was a time long before convenience of modern civilization, when darkness brought both the veil of mystery and the canvas of old stories to merge. The villagers spoke hushed tones of deities and supernatural entities, many of whom were said to roam the land at night, a rite of passage for those who dared to challenge the unknown. One such night was marked by an event that would become a tale passed down through generations. It was during a moonless night, when the world was draped in an oppressive darkness, that the 11-year-old boy named Nee found himself once more battling the beast of insomnia. His small mat lay in a corner of the family hut, where he was supposed to sleep soundly, but tonight the weight of restlessness clung to him like an unwelcome shroud. Nee lay on his mat, staring at the dim outlines of the wooden beams above him, trying to ignore the creeping cold that seemed to seep through the walls of the hut. He was acutely aware of the village's ancient beliefs, how staying awake after dark was said to invite the attention of malevolent spirits. Despite knowing the dangers, his eyes refused to close. The village's superstitions were not mere stories to him, but warnings etched into the very fabric of his upbringing. As the night deepened, a sudden rattling noise broke the silence, reverberating through the stillness of the hut. The sound was like faint but persistent clanging of metal against stone. Growing in intensity, Nee's hut skipped a beat. He strained to listen as the rattling was followed by a series of deep, resonant thuds, 3 in number, each reverberating like a distant, mournful drumbeat. The thuds seemed to echo through the forest, growing nearer with each pulse, their ominous rhythm mirroring the beat of Nee's own terrified heart. It was as if an immense, unseen presence was making its way past the hut, each step a monumental stride that shook the earth. The thuds came at intervals, deliberate and unhurried, like the footsteps of an ancient forgotten deity. The rattling sound was accompanied by the mournful howling of dogs, a chorus of sorrowful wails that seemed to seep through the depths of the night itself. Nee's fear turned his sweat into cold beads on his forehead. He lay perfectly still, his breath shallow, fearing that even the slightest movement might draw the attention of whatever force was stalking outside. The howls grew louder, rising and falling, in a rhythm that seemed almost musical. But the melody was one of despair and loss. Suddenly, another sound pierced the night, the chain clinging softly, as if a prisoner had broken free from his shackles and was now wandering aimlessly in the darkness. The sound was faint at first, but it grew more distinct, merging with the mournful howling of the dogs. It was as though a tormented soul was roaming the earth, bound by the chains that echoed through the night. In a spine-chilling moment, Nee thought he heard a voice calling his name. It was faint and carried by the wind, but it was unmistakably like his mother's voice. His instincts screamed at him that it was a trick, a call to lure him out into the night's embrace. He clenched his jaw, fighting the urge to cry out or move, his entire body paralyzed by fear that had taken hold of him. The presence seemed to stop right outside the hut, and he could feel the oppressive weight of its gaze upon him, as if the very darkness was scrutinizing him from beyond the thin walls of his home. His stomach churned violently, a signal of the intense fear he was experiencing. He held his breath, feeling every heartbeat as if it were an echo in the void. Minutes felt like hours as he lay there in the stifling darkness, the only sounds being the fading rattling of chains and the distant sorrowful howling of the dogs. The intensity of the presence began to wane, the sounds receding into the distance until they were nothing more than a faint memory of dread. When the silence finally returned, it was a relief more profound than any words could express. He remained still for a long while, listening to the night's quiet return. The eerie melody of the howling was gone, replaced by the occasional rustle of leaves and the gentle breeze. In the days and weeks that followed, he struggled with the memory of that night. His physical health, which had been frail, seemed to improve as the supernatural experience seemed to have exhausted its toll on him. He recovered from the illness that had plagued him, but the psychological scars remained. He was a changed boy, haunted by the knowledge that he had come face to face with the outwardly. Word of Nee's experience spread throughout the village. The young children were left in awe and terror, whispering about the boy who had encountered the spirits of the night. The elders, while spooked, were less shaken. They had heard the stories before and were familiar with the dark forces that lurked in the forest's heart. The chief priest, the man who knew more than he let on, acknowledged the event with a solemn nod. He understood that such encounters were rare but significant, marking a person for life. Nee grew older, and the story of that fateful night became a legend. He told it often, not just as a recounting of a harrowing experience, but as a lesson in the balance between fear and courage. His tale was passed down through generations, a chilling reminder of the night when the ancient forces of the world had brushed against the fabric of a young boy's life. And so the story lived on, a whisper in the night for those who lay awake, a cautionary tale for those who would dare to challenge the darkness that roamed the ancient forest of their ancestors.